Welcome to Design Loyalty, Scale with Heart. Discover the 3 experience upgrades your business is missing. Welcome to today's masterclass. It is my honor and pleasure to be with you today. I am Coco Selman, 5-time founder, impact investor, and creator of the Force for Good system. And today we are talking about one of the most important topics related to growing and scaling your company of impact. And so as we draw in, I invite you to consider the experience your customers are having. So is your customer experience truly remarkable? Do your team members regularly turn routine moments into unforgettable ones? What would it take for your customer experience to become your best marketing channel? And what if just 3 experience upgrades, big enough to matter, small enough to execute, could transform your growth trajectory this year, this quarter? So today, that is our topic. We are going to be talking about the 3 customer experience improvements that can help you elevate connection with everyone you serve. So who is your customer? In the Force for Good system, we invite you to always consider the many constituents of your company: your customers, your team members, your partners, your vendors, your investors, your industry, the local community, larger community, and the world at large. Focus in on your most critical, and typically those most critical audiences are your clients and your team members. Your clients are the customer that you exchange money for your services. Team members exchange time, energy, and belief for a shared purpose. We invite you to see your customer experience as one that directly serves both your clients and your team. And as such, we invite you to consider your customer experience as that which affects both, and creating a customer experience that is remarkable. So what is customer experience? Customer experience is the total perception a customer, client, or team member has of your company based on every interaction they have before, during, and after purchase. It's not just about what you sell, it's about how people feel when they engage with your brand, your team, your service, your values. A great customer experience builds loyalty, trust, and advocacy. A poor customer experience, often subtle or unintentional, can quietly erode growth, even when your product is strong. This is why we invite you to turn your attention today to creating a remarkable customer experience. Customer experience is the emotional journey your company creates, one touch point at a time. Founders often struggle to create a remarkable customer experience, and there are lots of reasons for that. First, it's overwhelming because there are so many touch points. So we give up on the customer journey before we even get started. We just try to get the basics handled, get the product, get the service, get it out, however we can. And so it's hard to think about customer experience because we worry that there's just too much. The team is already overloaded. You're already wearing lots of hats. Your team's wearing lots of hats. How do you stop and think about these nebulous moments of your customer? And there's also oftentimes not yet the systems in place to empower consistency. So it's just one more thing to add to your to-do list. So this is why the way we approach customer experience within the Force for Good model invites you to embark on just 3 changes at a time, which make it possible to radically elevate without overwhelm. So 3 changes at a time. If every quarter you have 3, over time, you will build a remarkable experience. If you don't start somewhere, you will never get there. And you'll quickly, as this exercise today will help you see, you'll quickly see where the improvements will matter the most. And it will actually be fun to implement them for your team as well as for your clients. So, what are the 3 customer experience improvements we're talking about here within the Force for Good model? So, within the Force for Good model, 3 customer experience improvements is one of our core growth elements. And every core growth element is designed to spark exponential growth. It's the seed for exponential growth. So, this idea of always having 3 customer experience improvements is really a continuous, purpose-driven practice of actively selecting and implementing 3 high-impact ways to enhance the experiences of both your clients and teammates over time. This cycle of improvement keeps your company alive, aligned, and evolving. As one improvement is completed, another is added, creating a steady rhythm of innovation, care, and cultural vitality. Your company is a living, breathing organism. It requires attention and oxygen to prosper. 3 customer experience improvements help you stay at the forefront of those you serve and always be listening and understanding how we can do better, how we can change with what's happening in the market and their needs today. So today's focus is, let me pull up the screen. Hold on, getting there. Here we go. All right, coming back. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen, add to stage. I'm going to put this one on. Okay, so here we are. So today's focus is on the 3 customer experience improvements. We're going to use the 3 customer experience improvements selector. And in our workshop, we have 3 goals, as we always do. First is for you to use the selector. Next, to define your 3 customer experience improvements you want to commit to right now, and identify a habit and an action that will activate those 3 customer experience improvements. So by the end of the day, you will have exactly what you need to begin to embark on creating remarkable experiences for your team members and your clients. So if you haven't already, go ahead and download the 3 customer experience improvement selector, which you can find for this week anyway, at a forceforgood.biz/weekly-tool. It's also available when you buy the book, A Force for Good. It's part of the toolkit that you get when you buy the book. Okay, so moving on. Where does this fit on the 4-page growth plan? So the 4-page growth plan is really the center of our ability to grow. It helps us answer the question, how do we create success? It says, what would make success the only outcome? And it's by using this 4-page plan and gathering these nuggets of wisdom with each of the core growth elements that we unlock the puzzle of growth. Today, we are focused on this idea of 3 customer improvements, and it's on the bottom right hand of the first page. And you'll see it at the bottom there under the Know Who You Serve section. So this helps us define who we serve. So we know our purpose, we know who we serve, and we know our impact plan. And this is under the Know Who You Serve section. So why does this matter? Your company is a living system. It thrives when it's nurtured. Culture and loyalty are shaped when what you improve and not just what you maintain. So it's when you have these thoughtful changes that you create repeat customers and engaged teams. So that's why this is so essential. So as we said before, you have 2 audiences you're serving, 1 commitment. So you have your clients that exchange money for transformation, and you have your team who exchange belief and effort for belonging. So it's important to understand that great companies improve both experiences continuously, the experience of the customer and the experience of the team. In my experience, if you keep those 2 things separate, you never get around to your team. You always focus on the client. And so that is why it's important to embed them together, because you'll discover when you think about them together that they actually perpetuate one another. It also evaluates the value of every member, it elevates the value of every member of your team, because it's helping your team involve themselves in the co-creation of the customer experience. But it's also saying, you team member, you matter so much that we're always going to be focused on elevating the experience we are delivering to you. And it also fulfills on promises like, we value our team. So when we address both, it shows to our team members that we see them just as importantly and as valuable as we see the client. And it truly then creates a culture of care from inside and to out. So next we see why you need 3 customer experience improvements. Okay, so I like to think customer experience like being on a raft out at sea. And you could swim out and be right in front of the Ritz-Carlton swimming along on your raft, and everything is good. The sun is shining, all is well. But if you stop paying attention and you stop improving over time, you'll find that you're downstream of the Ritz-Carlton. You're no longer present in the mind of your customers, and you've lost traction. So continuously looking at and not becoming overwhelmed with being perfect at everything, but continuously looking at where you can improve the experience of your customers, both your clients and your team, you will be more likely to keep them. Without it, you will be losing them, and it will be quiet. You won't know why. You also need it because your culture will be shaped with or without you. And so if you are not intentional with how you're building the culture of your team and your clients, then something else will emerge, and it won't be good, because unconsciously we all have fears. So it creates a negativity without even knowing it. But when you focus on what it is that you want to create, and then you actively do 3 things at a time, you make promises and you fill them. You make promises and you fill them. And this creates a new culture, a positive culture that people want to belong to. Stalled growth is often an experience problem. You might have a great product, but if you don't know what's really happening with your customer and where they are getting disconnected from you, then your growth is going to be limited. Emotional resonance drives profitability. So what this means is that People will stay if they feel connected to you, if they feel a sense of purpose, belonging, success, prosperity. It's through the customer experience that they get to actually have that. It creates a company people cherish. This is the thing that, like, I love, right? Don't you want to create a business that customers and team members love? Don't you want to create that place where people talk about what a great company it is and what a unique culture it has? Don't you want to have a company where your employees will thrive? And then in all future situations, we'll look back and say, that was the best company, best position, best job I ever had. So it is through this kind of 3 improvements at a time that you can get there. Mistakes to avoid. Treating customer experience as a one-time project rather than a living habit. So in another masterclass, another core growth element is the customer journey, the 17-step customer journey. If you haven't done that workshop, that masterclass, you may want to. But it's like saying doing that once is when you're done. So what we're saying here is you want to be always relooking at your journey, because things change. New triggers are happening in the market all the time. New worries are happening with your employees and your team members. So being able to stay fresh helps everyone stay engaged with creating a connection with those you serve. Only improving for paying customers and not team members is another big mistake. When we always improve for our paying customers, but avoid or put lower priority or get to it for our team members, it speaks volumes about what we actually value. So it's a big mistake to put them separately and then, never get around to the team. The other thing that mistakes we want to avoid is optimizing for process over emotion. So we look at process and we look at efficiency, right? We want that. However, it's important we also gauge where the emotional stake is, because if the emotional connection is high, it might be worth whatever the cost of connection is. I'm not saying every time, but it is worth noticing and seeing if you can make it work. So that's important. Also, a mistake to avoid is to assume that you know what people want without asking, or in our case, lots of times is trying things out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. In my company, Illume, we tried out a lot of things, right? One of the customer experience improvements that we did was to have homemade cookies and at our interview process. And we also brought them back when we did orientation, and we discovered that people really loved that. We also, another customer experience improvement that we had was we offered a stipend that they could use every month towards wellness. And we found that everybody was excited about it, but nobody used it. Like, out of 300 employees, like, we had 2 or 3 that would actually take up and go and get themselves a gym membership and use their stipend. So you don't know until you ask, till you try it out. And then once you try it out, then you can make decisions about which customer improvements are most important. The thing to remember is that even satisfied customers and high-performing team members may quietly disengage if their experience with your company stagnates. And I see this happen as companies grow, especially because that level of excitement and connection early on in the culture, early on, might have a certain flavor and feel. And then as you grow, if that doesn't stay fresh, your team members will start to feel like, this isn't that special anymore, and somebody else can pay me more, so I'm just going to go. or your customers start to feel like, yeah, I used to be really important and valuable, and it used to be important, but now I'm not. And so I don't need to stay. So this is why it's so critical that you stay engaged in 3 areas of improvement for your customer at all times. So, inspiring examples. So, what do I mean by improvements, customer improvements? And when you see in the selector that you download, there's a bunch of, I think there's like 15 of each. And so, here are some examples for customer improvements. It could be customer milestone celebrations. So, whatever their milestones are, right? What is the transformation you're helping them with? So in our Savvy Kids example, it's the kid being able to get closer and closer and finally tie the shoes. For our ABC integration company that we talk about at a lot of master classes, it could be getting your first reports set up and then being able to run them, or being able to have a successful meeting with your client. So it's actually looking at your customer and saying, oh, you are celebrating. Maybe with a force for good, it's being able to have people have their first 4-page growth plan done. Maybe it's having a celebration when they see their first 10% increase in revenues, or when they have that exponential growth, when they double their monthly revenue. So these are examples of ways that you could build into your system customer milestone celebrations. The next one is simplified billing and invoicing. So if this is a point of pain for your customer and it's creating friction, then this could be a place that you can make improvements. Another offer here is client-only strategy sessions. So every business is different. We can't do this if we're like, in a mouse model. We haven't talked about growth models yet, but average revenue per customer. If you have, less than $1,000 a year, less than $100 a year, then you probably aren't going to be able to offer client-only strategy sessions, but maybe you could to a group of them all at once or something. But these are ways for you to reach out and add value. What are ways that you could do that? Post-purchase thank yous. So the way we did this with Illume is we had a whole series, we had a whole onboarding for our customers and for our team members around thank you for being our customer, thank you for being our team member, thank you for being a new patient, client, family that we're caring for. And it involved a series of steps where you would hear from your case manager, thank you. You would hear from your scheduler, thank you. You would hear from the administrator, thank you. You would hear from me, the owner, thank you. And there would be different moments along the way when those would show up, and all different kinds of ways to make sure then we check that back to make sure they were happy and well. The system we designed for our team was even more elaborate, as you can imagine. So there could also be a customer education series. These are different things to help them have experienced the transformation that they're hoping to experience and that you promise to deliver. So these are some examples for customer improvements. For team improvements, there's so many wonderful things you can do for teams, right? Highly recommend having a 90-day onboarding redesign. Now, if you don't hire that many people and you aren't planning to hire anybody soon, then doing this right now may not be your most important thing. But if you are hiring people actively, this is so important, having an experience where they have everything they need. The retention rates of employees and the success rates of employees who have a very clear and powerful 90-day onboarding experience it's like 3 times as many the percentage of retention after a year. So 90-day onboarding for both customers and team members is an area that if you're not doing it, it's a low-hanging fruit. Perhaps values-based orientation journey, voice of the team surveys, weekly team impact stories, monthly mental health check-ins. These are just some of the ideas that we can bring about. So ask yourself right now, which 3 experience upgrades, big enough to matter, small enough to execute, would transform your growth trajectory this quarter. And think about some that would involve your team and some that would involve your clients. And if you have a very small team, then don't minimize that. Think about what would also support you, the founder. All right, so think about that as we continue to proceed here. The power of 3. So why 3? Simple. You and your team can remember 3. It's hard to remember 4. You can implement 3. 3 is enough. 3 is enough to focus attention and do 3. You may even decide 3 is too many and you could just do 1. That's okay too. A single improvement can reduce churn. Okay, so we want to be able to home in on this whole idea that focus is what's most important for you as the founder and you, the team. When we're scattered, we don't do our best work and we don't do the work that ends up creating results. So having just 3 gives us the power to reduce churn and see results. 3, I would say even 1 or 2, 3 can shift culture, retention, and growth velocity. I'd say you at least need to have 2, 1 for your client and 1 for your team. And a third could be from wherever. So start with 3, big enough to matter, small enough to execute, powerful enough to transform. Isn't it exciting? I think it is. All right, so we are going to move into the 3 customer experience improvement selectors now. And so we're going to brainstorm possible improvements. We're going to measure impact and resources. We're going to plot those improvements, prioritize those improvements, and select 3 improvements. So go ahead, pull out the selector if you haven't already. We are going to use the Savvy Kids example. So we're going to add Savvy Kids. Here's our Savvy Kids. All right, Savvy Kids. All right, so Savvy Kids, for those who don't know, Savvy Kids is a company that has designed different types of products that help children learn. And the first product to market is shoelaces. So their shoelaces designed to help kids in preschool and kindergarten learn how to tie their shoes and feel good about themselves as they do it. And so we are going to, first of all, I'm going to direct you when you look at the 3 experience improvement selector, you'll see the first page talks about what the whole thing is. Who is your customer? The customer experience. Elevate 3 at a time. Always have 3. Review often, and then it has the process. Then you're going to find there's a whole bunch of examples. Customer, client experience, as well as team members. So this is a great place to come just to get some ideas. So let's go ahead and get to the first section. All right, so I'm going to invite you to brainstorm. So on the next page, you're going to brainstorm. So in the first column, you are going to come up with 10 or so ideas for the client-facing experience and 10 or so ideas for the team-facing improvements experience. So I'm going to read to you some questions to help you get your ideas going, and then we'll talk about some of the ideas that our Savvy Kids customer thought about. So what new ideas do you have to attract prospective customers? What ideas do you have to give prospective customers remarkable experiences at your company? What new or improved ways could you enroll a prospect to become a customer? What new ideas do you have to create remarkable experience while your customer is being onboarded? How could you improve the experience of signing agreements, invoicing and collecting payments? How could you better align with customer wants, needs, and preferences? How could you improve the process and experience of delivering the product or service to your customer? How could you improve the process and experience of resolving customer problems and complaints? What would create a wow experience for your customer? I'm going to add a few things here too. Just what would celebrate their journey? What would help you celebrate their transformation, their success? What would help them feel those 3 feelings to cultivate that we talked about in a separate masterclass? What would help them feel seen, celebrated, valued? What would help them feel like the most important customer? What would make every customer feel as though they must be the most important customer to your company? All right. But you got lots of ideas. Don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to do them all at once. Next question is regarding your precious, blessed team. And by the way, this involves you. You are part of your team. So, what new ideas do you have to attract prospective teammates? Especially if you're always needing new people. What are ways to attract them? What new ideas do you have to give prospective teammates remarkable experiences of your company before they're hired? What could be ways you do that? What new ideas do you have to invite or enroll a prospective hire to become a member of your team? Think about how you could do it in a way that is special, unique, helping them feel like they're important, they're valuable. What new ideas do you have to create a remarkable orientation and onboarding experience in the first 90 days of a new team member? And by the way, you could do this now with all your team members. You could do a 90-day onboarding reset. How could you improve the experience of initial hire paperwork, setting up payroll, and offering them benefits? What would make this initial experience remarkable? How could you improve the experience of coming to work each day? Whether they're virtual or in a location, what would make coming to work every day more culturally intentional? What are those 3 feelings you want to cultivate? Yet another core growth element, but what would be the things you'd want them to feel coming to work every day? And what would allow that to happen? How could you improve team member retention, engagement, and satisfaction? How can you empower them, acknowledge them, give them opportunities to advance, learn, and grow? So I'm sure you've got lots of great ideas. And again, you can return back to the prior pages for some ideas to get your mind jogging. So we come here to the list here. So for Savvy Kids, and the list is very different for an ABC company. It's also different for a Force for Good. It's different for a Lume. So every single one of these is going to be a unique blueprint, Your company is not going to sound like Savvy Kids because Savvy Kids is a different company than yours. But this will give you some ideas. So first 30 days of trying. So this is for the client. Again, this is for kids who are trying to learn to tie their shoes. So first 30 days of trying. It's an activity kit that comes with purchase. Includes stickers, progress chart, and a printed guide. So this is something they're thinking about. Parent dashboard to track child's progress. Another idea is a video series. Pearl, who happens to be the little girl that is part of our shared avatar, Pearl learns to tie. Child-led short clips showing milestones. Could be textable customer service, real-time answers for questions about your product. Could be the welcome card with Pearl story and QR code to video welcome from the team. Could be quarterly parent tips newsletter with skill building ideas. Could be a surprise and delight. It's a milestone gift sent after photo share. It could be a printable certificate of independence after shoelace mastery. It could be simple, mobile-friendly reordering system. It could be the voice of the customer, 3-question survey sent post-purchase. So those are some of the ideas that Savvy Kids had on their list. For team-facing, milestone, commissions, celebration boxes. So in their company, they have all these people out, all these mostly moms who are out, and they're the sales force of Savvy Kids. And so there are special boxes that get sent out after they've sold 25, 50, and 100. There could be a monthly Super Savvy spotlight, so celebrating one of those team members. Could be a flexible Friday power lunch. So monthly fun Friday lunches to co-work, share, and it could be open to kids. They want to have it open to kids and have lunch provided. The next one is Your Dream Funded. So this is a mini grant program they wanted to offer to their employees. So $50 monthly grant to any team member to support a personal dream or community project. Something like that might be great for your company. Depends on your culture, right? It depends on where you want to spend your dollars. Choose your own adventure rewards. So reps choose from a menu of thank you options for reaching specific goals. This is another idea they had. Heart wall of gratitude. So a digital collage of love notes for team members to hear of the positive things that they've heard from their customers. So you can values-driven quarterly retreat. So this is a purpose-led storytelling time of awards and recognition and planning where they can come together and think about the next quarter. So these are some ideas, right? So hopefully you have brainstormed a bunch and now you're ready to go to the next section, part 2, which is where you measure the impact and resources. So we go back to the same page, and for each of your ideas of different improvements you could make, you want to ask, what's the impact? What would the level of impact be to your customer or employee experience? And think about it too, like impact overall, how much of an impact it's going to have on your bigger picture. And if you have a 12-month breakthrough goal in place, something you want to achieve over the next 12 months, which of these improvements is most dramatically going to help you with that? So impact, scale it 1 to 4, 1 being low, 4 being very, very transformative and impactful. And the second area we want to think about, you want to rank, is resources. How much resources is it going to be? So what's the level of time, hours, financial investment that would be required to implement this particular ideas? So some ideas are quick and easy. Other ideas will take more energy and time and focus. And so you want to rate each of these from 1 to 4, 1 requiring the least resources and 4 being extremely resource intensive. So 1 to 4. So you're going to go back and give those some rates. And so your list is going to again be different than mine. So the amount of resources is sort of relative to your scale of activities. There could be nothing on my list that costs more than $1,000 to implement. And on your list, there could be nothing that costs less than $1,000. So this is all in your own calibration of rating, but this is where you're comparing what the different options are for impact as well as for resource requirements. Then we go to part 3. And part 3 is where you take what's on the list and you move them into these quadrants. And so the first quadrant is an implementation of an improvement that's high impact. So it gets 3 or 4 for impact. And it has low resources. So it doesn't take much. It has a 1 or a 2 for resources. So you're going to list all of those ideas. And then you're going to find the ones in the second quadrant on the right, so top right hand quadrant. This is the ones that have high impact, right? So again, the impact is high. It has a score of 3 or 4, but it also has high resource requirements. So some of those things might take more energy and time. And so those are going to have a 3 or a 4 as well. So then you're going to find in the bottom lower corner, lower impact and lower resource improvement. So this is where you have 1s and 2s for impact and 1s and 2s for resources. And then the last quadrant are the ones that have 1s or 2s for impact, low impact, and then they have high resources, 3 and 4. So you can start to see, all right, quickly, I don't really want to do the things that are low impact, whether they have low resources or not, or so you can quickly identify the ones that you don't want, and you can start to look and see the ones in the top that you want to sort of think about which ones are most likely for you. So you're looking at on step 4, you're prioritizing. You're starting to see, in general, I'll say you're first going to focus on the top left-hand corner of those things that are high impact, low resource. Now, sometimes you might also draw from the second, where you have the second top right, where you have high impact and high resource improvement. So for example, right, maybe you have a very important product that you've been working on and need to bring to market. And so that is a high resource thing. And is that this quarter or not? That's a separate issue. But you will occasionally need to invest time and energy into those things that are higher resources. But this gives you the ability to see it all. And then you can start to highlight the ones that you feel are most you and your team, really. This is best done with your team, where you can talk together about all these ideas and come up with what you believe is going to have the biggest impact. And it could be that you step away and do an exercise where you query your team members and query your constituents and find out what they think too. So then you come on, and once you've gone through and focused on prioritizing, you go ahead and move to the last page. So by a particular date, so in this case by October 1st, 2025, we would like to make these 3 improvements. So what would those improvements be? And in the case of Savvy Shoelaces, they decided that the choose your own adventure rewards would be really important and strategic to help them meet their 12-month breakthrough, and also really, really help them in all the ways of getting their team to focus in the ways that they most want with the client. They also decided to do the welcome card with Pearl Story and QR code, and with a video welcome from the team. They decided that would be really important to have. So have that little card, you get your shoelaces, and now you get the card, and it's the welcome. And they also felt that the other piece, the first 30 days of tying activity kit with the purchase, would be good to have. So you've got a blend of what you're doing for your clients and for your team. in the selection. So you could see how together these new improvements would radically shift the experience of the customer in both the mind of the client and the team member. And also think about how fun it will be to do these things, right? For your team to implement all three of these. So that's another area that I invite you to focus on is the things that are going to inspire your team to create fun and excitement, challenge, whatever is going to match your culture. Okay, so now you've done that. So now go ahead and you'll be able to put these 3 improvements onto your 4-page growth plan. So let's celebrate your wins. So now you've completed, you have 3 customer improvements. So you've reconnected with your purpose of service. You've identified tangible ways to elevate both loyalty and culture. You've clarified priorities that energize your team. You've aligned growth with care. And you've identified 3 experience upgrades that can transform your company and really make a difference in your growth trajectory this quarter. And just remember, build a company beloved by customers and team members alike. Do that, and it will be super fun and exciting, and it will create a business that scales. All right, so update your 4-page growth plan. Be sure to go down here to the bottom of the first page and update it and see if there's anything else as you're looking at your 4-page plan. It may show you now other things you're curious about. Maybe we talked about the journey of the customer today, the 3 feelings to cultivate. You may sort of want to just define who they are and what they need. Maybe it's now helping you think more about your core purpose, your vision, your values. So use this moment to, as you've considered the three customer improvements, customer experience improvements, and see how you might want to evolve everything else on your 4-page plan to meet the needs of your customer. All right, so let's put your 3 customer experience improvements into action. First, with a habit. What are high leverage habits? They're repetitive practices that all but guarantee breakthrough results. All right, so what habit could help you focus and your team focus on the 3 customer experience improvements you just chose? So here's some examples. You could add your customer experience improvements review to your monthly dashboard meeting. So put it right into your agenda. You could begin every team meeting with, who did we serve well this week? Be in that question of the experience of your customer. You could use a feedback pulse survey every 30 days. You could review improvement progress quarterly. You could celebrate one small win in every Monday huddle. So identify for yourself a habit that would ensure you have success with your 3 new customer experience improvements. Another idea would be to create a weekly time. So I would do this. I would suggest you identify one person, not you, to be in charge of each improvement. Sue, Larry, and Bob, right? And so now they are assigned now to go and set up a weekly meeting with 2 or 3 other people on their team to help them complete this high leverage habit by the date. If you do that, that's a great habit. You will get there. Small improvements consistently executed create legendary experiences. The other thing you can do is identify a high potency action. So what is a high potency action? It's a one-time catalytic action that creates measurable transformation. So what's one thing you could do this week to activate customer experience improvements in your culture? So we talked about this. I just told you. Assign one leader per improvement. Set a time in the next 7 days to meet and create a plan for each improvement. Create an action plan for each of the 3 improvements. Announce your 3 chosen improvements. Add the 3 experience improvements to your weekly, monthly, and quarterly meeting agendas. So these are things you can do to set it up so that the customer, these experiences, you can't fail. Success is the only outcome because you've set it up that way. So what you choose. All right, so I want you to just take a moment and think about the things you chose. What you choose to improve reveals what you value. Choose with intention and lead with care. It will pay dividends. So we did a lot today. You defined 3 customer experience improvements. You used the selector. You integrated the 3 experience improvements into your 4-page growth plan. You identified a new habit to make sure customer experience improvements is part of your everyday life. You committed to a high potency action to get it off the ground. And so you reconnected to culture as a growth strategy. So you're ready to scale a business people cherish inside and out. Isn't that exciting? All right, so what's next? I encourage you to pick up a copy of the book, A Force for Good, if you haven't. When you get the book, or if you already have it, I encourage you to go to chapter 7. You're going to see more information about customer experience there, and you'll find the customer experience improvements in that section. You'll also gain access to the full Force for Good toolkit. So you'll get all of the PDFs for all of the tools. And the tools themselves have instructions inside of them. And so together you have everything you need to install this elevated model of exponential growth so that you can keep asking the question, what would make success the only possible outcome? You can use these tools to help you figure out the answer. Next thing you can do is you can get the tool of the week. So each week you can get a new tool and a masterclass for free for a week. And then you can improve your overall 4-page growth plan. You can add to it, tweak it, and then you're given new insight, new wisdom that you can implement into your company to create exponential growth. Isn't that cool? I think that's cool. And if you want, you can also decide you're going to sign up for the Growth Accelerator. And this is where you put the full system together. So the toolkit sort of helps you see all the individual parts and pieces, one leg of the growth wheel, the flywheel at a time. The accelerator helps you put it all together in the most efficient way. So if you're interested, go check it out at aforceforgood.biz/accelerator, and you can get going right away. All right, so thank you for joining me on this journey today of helping you discover the value of customer experience for both your clients and your team members, and identifying 3 customer experience improvements that will spark growth and lead you to building remarkable moments with your customer. So thank you very much. Remember that the world is made better by women-led business. Let's all go make the world a better place.